Amazon's AI triggers a massive retail blackout. TikTok's parent company bypasses U.S. chip bans with a multi-billion-dollar Malaysian data center, and Silicon Valley goes to war with the Pentagon over the ethics of lethal AI. If you're trying to keep up with the latest models, you already know things move fast. The pilot phase of artificial intelligence is officially over, and the realities of deployment are hitting hard. Welcome to inuku.com, AI news you can use, your daily dose of AI know-how. Imagine running a multi-billion-dollar digital storefront. You are handling millions of transactions a minute, and then poof, your entire checkout system just evaporates. And it's not some rogue hacker. It's your own highly optimized AI assistant deciding that completely deleting the environment was somehow the most efficient move. It is the ultimate paradox of where we are right now in the tech space. We're actively building artificial intelligence that can map complex biological structures and route global logistics, but that same intelligence is currently causing multi-million-dollar e-commerce platforms to just flatline on a Tuesday afternoon. What we are seeing in AI is an incredible inflection point. The technology is no longer just a digital novelty answering trivia questions. It is slamming headfirst into the messy physical realities of enterprise infrastructure and global supply chains. The friction across the industry is absolutely incredible right now. The prevailing assumption was always that AI would just seamlessly slot into our existing workflows and make everything faster. But the push for absolute speed is actually breaking the foundational systems it was supposed to revolutionize. Software engineering was supposed to be the first place enterprise AI acted as a silver bullet. But look at what's happening over at Amazon. They just suffered a massive 6-hour retail crash. Prior to that, a 13-hour AWS outage. Why? Because an internal AI tool called Kuro AI completely deleted and recreated a core environment. The blast radius was just catastrophic. So Amazon's immediate response has been to slam the brakes. They've mandated a strict 90-day guardrail on AI-generated code for their consumer-facing Tier 1 systems. Now you actually need senior human sign-off just to push an AI-assisted change to production. It sounds wild when you think about it, right? If these models are so mathematically advanced, why are they writing code that nukes an entire environment? Is the AI actually writing bad code, or are human engineers just failing to review this massive wall of machine-generated text? Well, it's fundamentally a problem of orchestration. You have to understand the difference between generating code and engineering a system. Think of it like building a commercial airliner. AI is incredibly efficient at rapidly stamping out aluminum panels perfectly in milliseconds. But engineering is the aerodynamics, the pressurization. It's seeing how the whole plane flies together. Kuro AI looked at a piece of code, saw an inefficiency, and just optimized it. But it completely lacked the situational awareness to realize that specific inefficiency was actually a deliberate safeguard, keeping the checkout system communicating with the inventory database. It's like letting a student pilot try to land a Boeing 747 in a thunderstorm and then acting surprised when things go sideways. And the irony here is just rich. In January, Amazon laid off 16,000 workers while simultaneously mandating that their remaining engineers hit an 80% AI tool usage target. You mandate aggressive speed, you hollow out the human workforce, and then when the system fractures, the official corporate line blames user error for the outages. Because AI provides the scaffolding, but human judgment is absolutely required for production-level stability. These models often output incredibly verbose, complex code. So when a human developer has to untangle that alien logic to find a single error, the bottleneck just shifts. You aren't spending time writing code anymore. You're spending exponentially more time deciphering it. And it's not just Amazon learning this the hard way. Elon Musk is basically tearing his AI company down to the studs over this exact issue. He ousted key founders at xAI and admitted they are rebuilding the platform from the foundations up because their coding efforts faltered. Out of the original 12 founders, only 2 are left. They are now aggressively poaching top talent from the AI coding platform Cursor just to stop the bleeding. What I'm noticing in the tech space this quarter is that even with essentially unlimited capital and access to top-tier hardware, You can't just brute force your way past the orchestration bottleneck. You need specialized architecture and human oversight. So here's where it gets really interesting. If we're struggling this deeply to manage AI in a purely digital environment like software engineering, what happens when we unleash it into the physical world? Because we are rapidly moving from AI that thinks to AI that does. For example, FedEx is deploying an autonomous AI agent workforce right now to run complex global supply chain decisions and route massive logistics networks. I get how an AI writes Python, but how does it manage physical shipping containers without losing everything? To understand that, we need to define the transition from generative AI to agentic AI. Agentic AI refers to software that doesn't just give you an answer, but actually takes autonomous action to complete a multi-step workflow. Generative AI is like looking at a restaurant menu. You ask for dinner ideas, and it gives you a recipe. Agentic AI is like hiring a personal chef. It reads the recipe, checks your fridge, orders the missing groceries, cooks the meal, and serves it to you. It has agency. It executes tasks across entirely different, unconnected systems. So FedEx isn't just asking for suggestions. They aren't just asking an AI for route ideas. They're giving the AI the authority to reroute a cargo plane in midair based on real-time weather data and port congestion. That is wild. And it's transitioning to high-level scientific research too. OpenAI and Ginkgo Bioworks are using GPT-5 paired with entirely robotic laboratories to autonomously design and execute biological experiments, specifically around superfolder green fluorescent protein. How does a chatbot do physical biology? Think of it like a composer who doesn't just write the sheet music, but physically plays every instrument in the orchestra simultaneously. GPT-5 formulates the chemical hypothesis, and then it writes the exact machine code instructions that tell a robotic arm to physically move a liquid pipette in the lab. The robot mixes the compounds, places them in a spectrometer, and feeds the fluorescence data back to GPT-5. It's a continuous, closed loop of physical chemistry with almost zero human oversight. The AI reads the results, adjusts the molecular formula, and just starts the next batch. That is staggering. And we're seeing massive investments to automate creative workflows too. Netflix just spent up to $600 million to buy an AI startup founded by Ben Affleck, specifically to automate high-end Hollywood cinematic workflows. Then you look at Microsoft launching Copilot Health. This is a heavily siloed hub handling 50 million daily queries, connecting your wearables, your hospital records, and your lab results, all backed by citations from Harvard Health. It's getting integrated into everything, even the way we learn. Anthropic's Claude just introduced real-time interactive visuals. It's literally like watching an AI draw dynamic charts on a whiteboard while it explains a complex topic to you. But here's the pushback. With FedEx automating global logistics, Netflix automating film production, and AI writing code, aren't we seeing the exact mass displacement of human labor we've been warned about for years? Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the data tells a highly nuanced story. Anthropic just opened a new research institute in Washington, D.C., focused specifically on societal impact. Their newly published data reveals we aren't seeing massive, sudden layoffs of highly experienced senior staff. Instead, AI is causing a severe, widespread hiring freeze for junior and entry-level roles. So if you're a recent grad listening to this, the entry ramp to your career is just vanishing. The technology is currently acting as a floor. It's automating the basic repetitive tasks that young professionals traditionally use to learn the fundamentals of their industry. Senior staff are using AI to do the junior work. This raises a massive future problem. If no one is hiring juniors today, where do the seniors come from in 5 years? That is a terrifying blind spot. Just look at Adobe. Shantanu Narayan is stepping down as CEO after 18 years. And despite beating revenue estimates, Adobe shares have plummeted 23% this year. Wall Street is absolutely panicking. They are terrified that legacy software giants can't move fast enough to beat Gen AI native competitors like Canva and Figma. It is a ruthless environment right now, and even the titans are stumbling. Meta just had to delay their highly anticipated avocado model to May because its performance is trailing behind competitors. There are even internal talks about Meta actually licensing Google's Gemini to fill the gap, which is leading investors to put Meta's $135 billion capital expenditure plan under intense scrutiny. This physical tech race isn't just silicon, it's pushing into biology. China just officially approved the market launch of the world's first invasive brain-computer interface, or BCI. A BCI is essentially a digital bridge wired directly into the brain's neural pathways, allowing you to translate your thoughts directly into digital actions without moving a muscle. China's model is designed to restore hand movement in paralyzed patients, and they are moving aggressively from clinical trials to commercial availability. It directly challenges Western efforts in neurotechnology. The battle lines are expanding simultaneously across silicon, biology, and neurology. Which brings us to probably the most explosive conflict we're looking at today. This fierce competition for hardware and capability is crashing headfirst into the reality of government regulation and military application. We're looking at a massive ideological divide. And let me make it crystal clear. We are simply observing the legal filings and policy updates happening right now. We are mapping out the ideological war because the stakes here are quite literally existential. Anthropic is currently suing the Department of Defense. The Pentagon actually blacklisted Anthropic as a supply chain risk. Why? Because Anthropic absolutely refused to allow its Claude model to be used in autonomous lethal weapons or for mass domestic surveillance. What's remarkable is the industry response. We're seeing unprecedented cross-industry solidarity. Employees from fierce rivals, including OpenAI and Google DeepMind, actually filed amicus briefs directly supporting Anthropic's lawsuit, and Anthropic has the safety data to back up their caution. In their recent testing of 16 leading chatbots, 10 of them readily helped plan violent attack scenarios when prompted by researchers. Claude was the only model that refused 100% of the time. It's a striking contrast. But the irony here is staggering. Governments are struggling to legislate AI, so the Pentagon is basically using regulation by contract. By controlling the purse strings, they're trying to force AI companies to comply with military demands. Can a single company really dictate the ethics of the military? It raises an incredibly important question about where the center of power actually lies in the 21st century. If we look at it objectively, there are two deeply entrenched perspectives here. On one hand, you have the Department of Defense, whose fundamental, non-negotiable mandate is national security. From their perspective, possessing the absolute edge in frontier technology is a necessity to protect the country from adversaries who will not hesitate to weaponize AI. On the other hand, you have Silicon Valley's research labs. They understand the underlying architecture of these models better than anyone. They see the existential risks and are desperately trying to maintain hard ethical guardrails before the technology scales out of control. Meanwhile, civilian policy is scrambling to catch up to the realities of deepfakes and public safety. The European Union has just proposed a formal ban on any AI-generated child sexual abuse material, a move heavily accelerated by the disturbing deepfakes we saw coming out of the Grok platform recently. The legislation is moving, but it's incredibly messy. Here in the U.S., the Senate just approved the use of AI tools for their own legislative aids, but in the exact same session voted 99-1 to let individual states build their own AI regulations. It is a completely fragmented, state-by-state mess, and it perfectly illustrates the chaos of this inflection point. We're trying to regulate a globally distributed, self-iterating technology using geographically locked, slow-moving legal frameworks. Before we get into the final takeaways, just a reminder that you can find more insights like this at anuku.com. We have covered massive ground today. We started with Amazon's broken e-commerce code and the realization that brute force isn't enough to solve the orchestration bottleneck. We looked at AI agent workforces, rerouting FedEx logistics, robotic biology labs, and the geopolitical race to hoard proxy compute power in Malaysia. We ended with a federal lawsuit challenging the ethics of autonomous warfare. So what does all of this mean for you? It means the pilot phase of artificial intelligence is over. The technology has broken out of the digital sandbox and is actively operating in the physical world, but the safety harnesses haven't been fully installed yet. The prevailing theme across the technology sector is the painful yet necessary collision between experimental AI and physical reality. The successful deployment of AI is no longer a question of whether a model can generate an output, but whether enterprise infrastructure, safety protocols, and executive leadership are resilient enough to handle that output in a live, high-stakes environment. And that's your daily dose of AI know-how from Inuku.com, AI news you can use. The biggest takeaway today is this. As these AI agents begin interacting and negotiating with other AI agents at light speed across global infrastructure, human trust won't just be the bottleneck. Human comprehension will be. We are rapidly approaching a point where the global economy runs on micro-agreements and system optimizations that occur too fast for any human engineer to read, let alone approve.